You're on.
Good morning. This is the Thursday, December 9th, 2022 meeting of the Public Service Committee of the Gardner City Council. All members are present. Is there anybody other than staff recording the meeting? We'll move on to the first item of business, which is an abatement of water and sewer charges for 53 Vaughan Street. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you, this is a meeting of the Gardner Public Service Committee, or the Public Service Committee of the Gardner City Council. We're here to consider your appeal of certain charges that you received for water and sewer fees.
Yep.
And this is for 53 Vaughan Street. Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Melissa Swenson.
Say again, please.
Melissa Swenson.
Okay, thank you for coming, Melissa. What would you like to tell us about it?
I wasn't in the house for quite a bit of time because my heat broke, so I didn't realize that the water was running in the toilet. I guess it was the plumbing kit on the inside. They sent out a plumber, and as soon as he told me what was wrong, I switched it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, as a result of that running, your charges were higher than they normally are?
Yeah, the water went up to 600.
And this was running through your toilet?
Yeah, it was the plumbing kit on the inside.
Okay.
It kept filling up past where it was supposed to stop, I think, is what he said.
In any event, it was running, the bill was, the total bill, I think, was $12.50, is
Yeah.
I recall?
Yeah, it was, I think it was like 600 water, 500 sewage, and the rest was the trash.
Right. And I think your customary charges were average around $300 a month for the total water and sewer?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I've paid $260 or $270 on it so far, so,
Of that $12.50?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell us about it?
No.
Okay. Well, I think the materials you provided were helpful, so.
What were you looking for relief from us? Did you have something in mind?
I mean, ideally, like the average, because it was really costly to get my heat fixed, so, I'm just grateful for anything, because I can't pay 12, that I know I can't do, but.
And you said you weren't in the home for a period of time?
Yeah, I was like off and on, because I have a 3-year-old daughter, so
Gotcha.
I couldn't, stay there with no heat, so.
Right.
So the heat is fixed up now?
Yeah,
Okay. So you're staying there on a sustained basis?
yes.
Usually in these sorts of matters, we will offer a payment plan to extend out the amount of the bill, but in this case, I'd be willing to move reducing the bill by $150.
Well, I think by $150,
Yeah,
and then maybe with a payment plan?
with a payment plan.
Okay, if we reduce it from $12.50 to $11.50 and give you a payment plan over the course of a period of time, say 4 payment periods?
Yeah.
It's over a year.
So over a year, that would be a year's time.
So how much would that be monthly?
Well,
I just, yeah.
$12.50 minus, if we say 300, that's 9, which is what your normal charge is. That would be $9.50.
And then V plus what is the new bill?
Well, there'd be a new bill
Yeah.
as well.
Is there any way you could go down a little bit more?
Well, this really isn't a negotiation so much as it is an effort to try to find a way to, I mean, because the water was used. I know it wasn't intentional, and this is what we ran into, but, you know, the water was used in a way that the city has to sustain its operations.
Okay.
But I'm willing to consider anything that you fellows have.
I just have a question. You mentioned $150, but then you mentioned going from $11.50 to $10.50. Is it, are we,
1150 to, oh, it would be 950 minus 150.
okay,
Because of the amount already paid.
940.
Well, not so much the amount already paid, but the usual amount that, of our bill.
Right.
I just wanted to be clear if there was, well,
So it'd be 950 minus 100, it would be,
790.40, I think is really what's left, because it's 940.40.
well, that includes the trash charge, I think.
Oh, okay.
so we'll go from 840 to 790.
940 did.
No, sorry,
The amount due.
That's just what the left.
the current due is 940.40, because she made it 200 and say 70.
Well, I'm talking about the whole bill, and then she get a credit for what she's paid. So the total bill was 1250, minus 300, which is the normal, the average of the normal charge. That'd make it 950. Minus 150 would be 800. Minus 260 if, for what she's paid toward it. You follow,
I do
that's
follow
my
that.
calculation.
I do follow that.
Yeah, that's the same thing, I think it's just the W, obviously just rounding, I think the exact number is just the 790.40. That's what's gonna be left.
Yeah.
800 minus, well, it'd be, what be left would be 800, excuse me, 800 minus 260.
The 260 came off the 1209.
Right.
Am I following this
Well,
right?
no, I was, no, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
That would
I think
make
we're getting the same number, just.
We are, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the balance would be
90.40.
790.40 over the course divided by 4.
Okay.
The next 4 payment periods.
Mhm.
So we want to make that in the form of a motion?
Right, so moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye?
Aye.
Motion passes. So you'll have 4 payment periods to make up that,
Is it monthly or is it every 3
No,
months?
quarterly.
Quarterly.
Okay,
40, so you'll have some time.
all right, around tax time I'll probably pay it off.
Okay, well,
Just
whatever
to
is
get it out of
convenient
the
for you,
way,
we-
but,
we've given you 4 payment periods to
okay,
make it
thank
a
you.
little easier for you.
Yep.
Okay?
Thank you.
for
Very
coming
good.
in.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Minutes of prior meetings.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Second?
Any discussion on it? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item we have is department updates, Public Works. Mr. Director.
Well, we actually completed all the sidewalks down in the Coleman, Robillard area.
You were able to?
We were able to get them all done. Top coat's finished. We still have to do some backing up to the berm and the sidewalk, and, which we can do in the spring, but at least we got all the asphalt work done. Some of the concrete driveways, we just put in asphalt, just to get us through, so that when the better weather comes, we'll finish the concrete. But, yeah, we got, winter held out long enough, and then overnight it's snow and ice. So we went out we've been out, I think, 3 times, in the last few nights. We actually got a squall just in Gardner, the other night, so,
Mhm.
um,
It's a dusting kind of, yeah,
but just enough to,
to have to respond.
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, it didn't even snow at my house, but it was, pretty, a little bit, quarter-inch, but slippery here. That's really all I have. I don't have a lot since our last meeting.
Okay. Mr. Engineer?
Since our last meeting, the sludge landfill was approved by Conservation Commission. It was then appealed by an abutter, so that appeal goes to DEP. At some point, DEP will probably reach out to us. They may meet, they may not, but at some point, DEP will have to issue a superseding order of conditions, which will either basically affirm what the Conservation Commission decided, or have other conditions, or they could deny the project based on their findings. I find that highly unlikely. They know the project's coming. We've been working with them for a couple of years now on it.
They're anxious about it.
They're anxious about it, yeah. They want to get the permits done. So Outside of that, the MEPA filing, which is the environmental review by the state, that's been submitted. It was advertised, so that within the next 30 days, they'll have probably they call it a site scoping session where they meet on site and look at the site. The public is welcome to attend that, so that will come up at some point. And other than that, DEP itself, as far as the sludge landfill permit is concerned, they're looking at it. We met with them the other day to talk about groundwater and hydrogeology and fun stuff like that. So we have a couple of things our consultant will revise and get to them. There were no major concerns. Beyond that, DEP, on the actual permit for the landfill, they have to wait until the MEPA process is done, and we have a certification from MEPA, that the project can move forward. So it's moving. I don't know, the timeline is probably maybe within the next 6 months we'll have final answers from the state, and then if everything's in line, we can continue with the project. So that's moving along.
I had a question about that.
Sure.
When an appeal is filed, do the reasons for the appeal have to be stated with the appeal?
Yeah, and there was a letter, so it was Mr. Russo appealed the project. I think he actually had 10 other parties that were in on it. And he did submit a list of, his lawyer submitted a list of reasons why they were asking DP to basically deny the project. It is what it is, and DP will make their own findings.
Okay.
Outside of that, and I reached out to Councilor Walsh about, National Grid's been working on Lawrence Street, replacing, I think, 5 or 6 poles. Because I spent time on Lawrence Street, I noticed they'd installed some guy wires and one pole that were at existing locations but didn't exist. So there are 2 pole locations where there was a pole with no guy wires, where they actually installed 2 guy wires. And 1 pole location where there was a pole with no guys, where they installed a guy pole. And I can show you, actually, I'll show you the pictures because
You have an interest?
It-
I'll be.
well, it's,
That doesn't look like Lawrence Street.
no, it's,
Concrete sidewalks.
and I don't wanna say National Grid,
Those cheap ones, yeah.
I don't wanna say National Grid is doing this intentionally, or if they're doing it in other places, but the fact of the matter is that, oops, if I can get to it.
Can't really see Lawrence Street from there.
All right, well, this is not going as planned. Now it's there. There it goes.
Master bedroom.
That's the name of our Wi-Fi.
So, come on, there we go. All right, sorry about that. So this is one location, this is pole 12. So you can see on the left was the existing pole before they put the new pole in. There's no guys, no nothing. Picture on the right is the new pole behind the existing pole with 2 brand new guy wires. So my understanding is they went with these taller poles just through this section of Lawrence, and it has to do with their distribution system. They added some new transformers, and because of the new taller poles extending out to shorter poles, they needed to brace them in both directions. So that's pole 12, pole 13, which this is, again, existing poles on the left, there's nothing with it. New pole on the right, which now has a new guy pole. The concern I had with this one, other than they didn't petition to city council for it, was that that's close to being on private property at this point.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, maybe 10 feet from the edge of the paved way?
Yeah, at least that.
City's right away, I mean?
Yeah, the perspective with the wall and the property owner's driveway makes it look like it's, way behind what is the front of the wall on the street. I think it's closer than it looks, but Lawrence Street does have a wide right of way, So I know at my house, I think it's probably at least 15 feet in from the pavement.
From the pavement way?
Yeah, so it's fairly wide, but that's close. And from my understanding, what National Grid did, they have a private contractor who's doing the work. They came out, inspected the work, and decided that it wasn't up to their specs. That was an add-on. The guy wires you saw, or at least one you'll see, was kind of an add-on after the fact. So, you know, I can understand if National Grid decided they needed these once seeing the work, but the problem is they didn't.
They didn't get approval.
Right. And unfortunately, I see this because I live on Lawrence Street. Other parts of town, we don't inspect their work. I mean, we know, generally drive by, yep, new poles in, and, you know, we don't know what's there before and after, for the most part. And then, but this last pole, again, on the left, there's no guy wires. New pole on the right behind the existing pole with 2 brand new guy wires. And of course, that's what caught my attention, because I came home one day and they were in my driveway, and I couldn't get in my driveway, and they were putting the guy on the left in. So, you know, I brought it to Councilor Walsh's attention because I wasn't sure if in these particular cases they had to come to city council with a petition. But I guess it's my understanding that you can replace a pole without a petition, but when you add new guy locations or the guy pole location.
Well, you're imposing a new situation on the city's property or on somebody else's property.
Right. So, I bring it up to you today, basically, I guess, looking for some guidance, if you want me to reach out to Grid and say this is the situation, and, you know, the city council's expecting you to come in with both petitions. I would be inclined to do so. I don't think they're trending in this direction of doing that, but I think they just should be reminded that, you know, hey, you know, we have petitions that you need to go through city council with for a reason, and you can't just, because you need to do it, you still need to come to us, so.
I certainly think it's something that you should do, and not only to do it, but to explain why they didn't.
Yeah, exactly, yep, okay, that's fine.
I think
Yeah.
No, I agree as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I will do so then.
so why don't we do that in the form of a motion to approve the inquiry to National Grid about why they didn't seek approval for the new guys and the new pole. Is there a new? Well, there's a guy pole.
Yeah, the
There's a guy
second
pole
one.
and the guy wires that were recently installed, and we expect that they'll do so even though it's after the fact.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion about it, questions? Not all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Now, are those, I assume when they replaced the, picture up, when they're adding the other pole and keeping the old one, I mean, that's adding a new pole too, that's not considered like replacement of a pole, is it, or in terms of?
I mean, if they're,
I mean, there are, it is a new pole.
I consider it a replacement.
It's not a new location.
Yeah.
They can't physically take the old pole out and put the new pole right in its
Yeah.
location, just
Yeah.
because they have to move the wires from one to the other, yeah, so I would say it's
It's the same
a
pole.
replacement,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and you might also inquire of them what their plan is to remove the discontinued poles.
Yeah, yeah.
They've done a lot better over
Yeah,
the
they-
years, yeah.
Used to be a
20
real
years
problem,
ago,
used to be a real problem.
Yeah.
Clarkie Stedman was always on them. You go back to Clarkie?
Jimmy Mins and Hank Harris,
Oh,
were
They,
adamant.
they took up the mantle?
Yeah.
And that's all I have for you this morning.
Okay, Sophie?
I don't have anything.
Okay, nothing beyond what Rob reported on the,
We have it's a common project, so I
Yeah.
come before I can steal a thunder.
if you have nothing to report, and you might, once you get notice of a meeting, I don't know what you guys think about it. I mean, there's other things you could be doing.
Many.
So if you could just send an email to us, you know, a day or two before, indicating that you have nothing new to report. And, you know, you can spend your time doing more productive things than sitting through a meeting like this.
I am learning, so it's not too bad.
Okay,
but-
well, it's your call.
I would totally sit
And
down.
I think
Yeah.
giving her that option
Yeah.
would make some sense.
Maybe, in just in case we have any questions, we can reach out, if not, then it's up to you.
And if there's something that you can't attend, but there is something to report on, you can send us a memo on it that we can include in the record.
Okay, is there a certain way, to do that, just,
Well, just a memorandum about a particular project or projects that, but, I mean, we prefer to have you in person if you have something to report on, so we can, there can be some, there may be questions. But if you can't for some reason, because of a conflict or some other interfering circumstance, then providing us with a memo, an update on projects or something new, whatever it might be, to do that in place of it, so we can include that in the record. And we'll have some response to whatever it is for that meeting.
okay.
Okay? Moving on, next council request.
I had nothing this morning.
And this morning.
Is the pothole patrol been sent out, or is it
Yeah, we
activated?
actually, last week we hit Eaton Street and a couple of other streets in the city. I think we went down Pearl and a couple of other streets as well.
Because the intersection of Temple and Lawrence, you know, right near that illegally placed yield sign,
Some may say that.
well, we have an ordinance that says the signs that need to be approved by the traffic commission and the, but in any event, in that location, it's chewed up a little bit.
Right.
So if you could respond to that, it would be helpful.
I wasn't quite, where was the location?
Well, why don't we leave here, and we can take a ride, and I'll show you, and I can point out some other things in that area.
I'll remind you.
Yeah, because you probably noticed it as well. Yeah. So that's the only thing I had.
Okay.
Anything else?
I guess on that note, Partridge Street, was that one hit as well?
Yeah, Parker Street, there's a bunch of street Howard, we have a bunch of, with a long list.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, we fell behind.
Yeah.
Understandable what things going on, but thank you.
Anything else? Any new business?
Any business?
New business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion passed. Meeting stands adjourned.